I'm Lisa. I'm super happy to be here. When they asked me to do a keynote on the theme of joy, I was like, my inner child, I'm in. Because I may have grown tall, but I never really grew up. And I said, oh, joy, cool. I want bubbles on my slide in all kind of colors that move around. I don't know how to do that, so I asked my 12-year-old daughter. She made this with Procreate and the Scratch children's programming language. So Ariana, if you're watching, there's 1,000, 2,000 other people also watching. Looks amazing. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let me see if I can ask as pertinent questions as Sharat. Who of you likes or did used to like gaming? Okay, wow, that's a vast majority here. Who of you got into programming via gaming? Okay, I would say 10%. So some of us went into programming because we thought it would be fun. Now, fast forward 5, 10, 20, 30 years to now, for who does it often feel? Hello? This is really how it exactly feels. Yes. So, for who does it often feel more like this? Right. So, okay, I have good news for you. I will not be able to solve all your problems or bugs, but there are some strategies to at least make it much more fun. So today, I want to have a look with you into how children learn. And I want to take those lessons to our work floor, and at the end, have a look what specifically does that mean for us developers. So if I would ask you, what's the last thing you learned? Chances are you'll be thinking about some tutorial or some workshop you took, some course you followed. And yes, this is what we call academic learning. But actually, we learn in many, many other ways. So we learn when we play. This is how kids learn most that they know about the world. We learn when we socialize. We learn when we teach something to someone else. We learn when we're in the kitchen. We learn when we practice. These are forms of active learning. So practicing is also learning, and mistakes are a very, very important part of learning. So let's start by unlearning what that we thought learning really is, and rewrite it and make it more fun. Now, who am I to tell you about learning? So I'm a software developer just like you. I'm very much into AI, and I'm also working on Chain4j, but that actually doesn't matter to explain you how we learn. The reason I think I can tell you something useful is that I homeschooled my kids for 3 years, my two kids. So I saw kids from age 3 to age 9 learn every single day. I saw how their knowledge developed. And so I taught them something a bit different than the academic system. I learned them to chill on the grass. I learned them to pick the biggest chocolate out of the box. I showed them how to renovate a house. That's the daughter that did the bubbles, by the way. I taught them why people during Corona went all by toilet paper. We just had a lot of fun. And they developed very special skills, like this is burping. My daughter is the world's master burper. I've never met anybody that burps as loud and as long as she can do 13 syllables in one burp. I'm sure she wouldn't have learned this in traditional school, and we made a little video. If you want to know how it's done and you understand some Dutch, go check it out. Good. If you don't believe me, there's also I did some really deep, objective study on what about learning, right? So I just checked articles that supported my conclusions, but they all say positive emotions help with memory building and recall, so with learning very much. And interestingly, dopamine, so that's the hormone that makes us feel good when we do something. It's super important for motivation and for focus. Logically, if we like it, we will be much more focused. And any teacher will agree that it's 10 times harder to make a child learn something that it actually does not want to learn. But also, dopamine is really present at the formation of the synapses in our brain. It plays a crucial role in there too. So we learn much, much faster when we feel good and when dopamine is involved. So that's a first very nice conclusion that I want you to take home and to your workplace. how are we humans wired to learn? So we humans, but also many mammals. I'm sure you never saw animals go to school. We have another way that we are actually meant to learn, and that's called free play. So kids will experiment non-stop from the day they are born. They're born, they don't even know they have hands, and they're just gonna try everything. There's no failure whatsoever. They try until they figured it out. They follow their own curiosity. They're very active while doing this, and they do what they like, if you just let them run. Consequences, they develop reasoning skills, motor skills, they form their understanding of the world like this, they get imaginative, they develop problem-solving and decision-making skills, which are also very important on the work floor, and which our traditional school system doesn't really teach us the way free play does. And they learn also social skills, typically, because they love to hang out together, put up an occasional fight, and solve it together. So what did I see in 3 years of homeschooling? We threw overboard all the math and the spelling. We had to do a little bit of it because we got a yearly inspection, which we had to pass. But instead, I wanted my children to learn something else. And that is, find out what you love, find out what makes you happy, find out what you're good at, learn to take care of yourself, develop confidence, and be kind to each other. Because in my opinion, an individual that has these skills, they will find their way through life no matter what changes, they will find a way. Whereas with math skills and spelling and not all those others, you're not sure to have a successful and definitely probably not a happy life. The consequence was that I taught them 2 hours a day for 4 days a week, and that's really it. All the rest of the time during those 2 years, they played and they played and they played. And they got really good at the things they liked. So my daughter at 8, she drew an entire comic, 30 pages. It took her months and months and months. I didn't tell her to like drawing. I didn't tell her to start it. I didn't tell her to continue nor to finish. She did this all by herself because she was just allowed to focus and do it, and she liked it. And now at 11, she's 12 now, she does this amazing stuff. She draws better than me, and she says she wants to be a graphical artist. Okay, if we're going to compare this to the traditional school system, and now I take the really traditional one, I know a lot of schools try to do better, but there is this concept of failure that is really core to education. So at one side, we have to get good at a number of skills that they decide for us, and we have to be good enough at them to pass. And then at the other hand, the way they ask the questions is that there is a right and a wrong answer. So we learn kids to think in boxes and see things black and white, while the world actually is not. So one of the things I had to do when I started homeschooling, my oldest one had been in school for 4 years, my youngest one for 1 year. When I started, I gave them a test, and they were like, but what does the question mean? I don't exactly understand what you want of me. And I said, but just give the best answer you can. It does not necessarily matter what I want from you, just want you to use your brain and show anything. And they couldn't do it. They were so anxious, and that's what you see in a lot of kids. They have really fear of making these tests. And the way I got them over it was I gave them a kind of test. I mean, we didn't grade, but I gave them this kind of test to fill out. And I said, please do it as wrong as possible. The wronger you do it, the better. They had so much fun. The answers were hilarious. And they got over it overnight. I'm really happy that I did that to them. Other things, when you put kids in a classroom for all day, it's that they lose their autonomy to go follow their own curiosity. They cannot experiment as they would if they would be free. And they're in the same age groups where they don't learn from these ages that are a couple of years higher than them, and they don't teach these age groups that are a bit younger than them, and it's also quite a pity. So how do children cope with it when you put them in this environment that's not their natural way? Typically, they will try to comply, either because they like to please us, and also the ones that really don't care. We will kind of bully them in complying, and we will give them bad notes and warnings and call their parents, like we make them comply. Result is that they will be less risk-taking, less innovation, because there's this concept of, oh no, I cannot fail. It's not good for their motor skills to spend all day on a school bench. Lack of confidence and crumbling self-image, and I wrote scars for life. And that might sound over-dramatic, but I don't think it is. because who of you, I mean, you don't have to raise your hand, but just think, if you could change something about the way you look, are there some things you're actually very insecure about, or in your skill set, that you're like, oh man, I'm really not good at this, and I'm actually trying to hide this from my colleagues, and everybody else can do better than me? All these feelings that seem normal, I think we all have them. We've all been through this system. They are not necessarily evil in life. Had we been raised by our parents and our society to say, hey, wow, you're good at this, that's great. You're not so good at that, but who cares, because your strength is somewhere else, and you're just good, and you're just fine as you are, we would sit here with a different mentality, and life would look really different. So, yeah, I wouldn't underestimate what this does to us. What's the cost of complying for the individual, but also for society? I think this sums it up. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking that it is stupid or worthless. So instead of being proud of their specific skill and getting good at it, and actually bringing the skills to society that we need, because we need a diverse skill set, it's gonna say, oh, this skill, yeah, I have it, but everybody can do this, it's not important, I wanna be able to climb a tree, and I cannot. I think we can all relate to that to some degree. Science also has not that many good things to say about a really classical school system. So it kills creative thinking in children compared to letting them do their own thing. Frequent grading leads to lack of confidence and reduced willingness to take on new challenges. And if we think about programming, we're constantly learning new languages, doing new things. It's actually a super important skill, and it's really sad that it goes away. And the high pressure leads to things like anxiety and depression. Now, I'm not against the school system in say, I just think it's up for revision. It was like invented a couple of 100 years ago to have good factory workers and to have good soldiers. And nobody really revised it down to the bottom. So they're trying to make this better. They're aware that there's teachers trying so well to do great things for their kids, but everybody stays stuck in a system that is not optimal. But all my respect to teachers, really. One of these other side effects is that we gotta rather say that our kids have ADHD and we're gonna drug them, rather than to say, if we let them run like any other young animal, they would be running around the place, of course, and now they don't. When we put them in a classroom, they must be sick. It's a bit of a perverse side effect of this too. Now another question. Here are 5 important persons. What do they have in common? So they are definitely all stinking rich. They grounded these important tech companies. For sure, they mustn't have huge fear of success, like because they went for it and they made it. They did some groundbreaking stuff, but there's something in their youth they have in common. I think I heard it, they all went to a Montessori school, and that's a kind of school where kids can freely play. So there's a lot of material available, and kids just choose what they want to do, how long they want to do it, and then they clean it up when they're done. And this system is proven to work much better for all the mental health issues and the imagination issues that we saw. Now, it's quite an exclusive and rare form of education, so maybe their parents were rich enough or caring enough to send them there, leading to success in other ways, right? This is a bit pseudoscience, but I still find it a remarkable fact. There has been research on bullying. There are specific contexts in which this happens, specific contexts in which we humans really don't feel good and start doing these weird things. It's places where there's a loss of personal autonomy. You can't choose what to do. You have to follow strict rules and routines, and your social role is imposed by the authority. And when you have those combined, you have fertile ground for bullying to arise. And if we think, where do these things happen? It's prisons, some schools, some workplaces, to some degree. So the scientific term for these places is called total institutions. So now let's move on to our workplace. If we want to recreate this horrible environment in the workplace, what should we do? I think we should definitely put in some micromanagement. Just don't trust the people and don't give them any freedom. Bring a strong hierarchy in place so people stay where they are, don't bring up their ideas. Promote competition over collaboration. And then put the right blame culture in place so nobody dares to speak up because they're all afraid of failing. So this is actually a blueprint of what to stay far away from if you want to have an innovative and joyful business. So I've put these homeschool values from us next to this. No judgment, freedom to explore, freedom to experiment, no notion of failure, and this feeling that we're all in this together because we had to pass inspection all together. If you would translate that to the work floor, you get what we call a safe work culture, where it's safe to fail and thus to experiment, because experiments, they will often fail, and that's just fine. Should be safe to ask for help to your colleagues, to speak up, because you want employees to speak up. You will know what's going really wrong if they dare to complain to you. Otherwise, you will just not know, and you will not be fixing the right problems. Safe to bring up ideas and have these valued. No judgment and this team feeling. We are in this together. If you can bring in place such a culture at your workplace, you get more innovation, you get better final results and solutions, you can solve way more complex problems, we'll come to that in a minute, and you will have happier employees that keep evolving and that will probably stay, and that will learn their lifelong. Now, where does that bring us as software developers? We are in a very specific business. I think this map says it all. So this is the Java Developers Roadmap. It's maintained by Stefan Janssen at the moment. It's a work of beauty, but I think it's a work of horror because I feel really bad every time I look at that entire map. Everything I don't know. So I think maybe I know 10 things out of this whole map. But it shows, like, keep learning is there as one of the most important things in there. It shows we're in a highly complex business, solving highly complex problems as a team, with a fast-changing skill set, with a high innovation rate, and there's always lots of unknown terrain where we have to go into. I think it's true for most of us, these things. And when it comes to innovation, it looks like this, according to the Linux Foundations. There's a lot of fooling around, doing, trying. There's a lot of failure and mistakes in there, so a lot of inspiration. It's not a linear process, and also the mistakes in there, they're not really mistakes in the process, they're just part of it, and we have to accept it. If we want innovation, we will make a lot of mistakes too. What helps as well is diversity, so companies that have more diverse employees and skill sets, they get way more of their revenue out of innovation. So if you want this also for your company, then first throw out this concept that you can fail. And so you will give the people freedom a bit to experiment. That's where innovation comes from in the end. And gather a lot of diverse strengths. Not only gather them, but to make them heard. So they did a research that when there were more women in the team, the collective intelligence went up, regardless of the intelligence of the separate team members. And they observed that it was because when there were more women in the meetings, they would be more caring about having everybody have their say and having everybody listen to that. And typically, on average, men would be more trying to put their good idea there and push for it. So just hearing everybody a bit more is already like a great one to get more innovation and happier people, by the way. If you wonder if you should work on your weaknesses or invest in your strengths, I would say go for what brings you joy, which probably will be correlated with your strengths, because you will be learning there better, and it will be the thing that makes you stand apart. It will be the special thing you can bring to your team. Wait, I have to play this video because it's very funny. If it wants to play. Yeah, so I would say, if you don't like CSS, leave this up to the people that are good at that. I mean, we will make it in the end too, right? With ChatGPT, it got a little bit easier. But I would say, develop your strengths and let the CSS up to the people that are good at it. Great. Okay, now, how do I get back. Yes. All right. Another thing that's really, really super helpful for your business, and I've seen this happen in my team also very much, if you start valuing people's input, if you give them some freedom to try out their idea and some trust, and then you make sure they feel good, they will start flourishing. People that are like, okay, it's just my job, I do the tickets I'm assigned to. When you go ask them, hey, aren't you good at that? Didn't you study this? Didn't you know something about this? How would you bring this into this problem? You will see huge transformation. So please do it. What you will get is people that, yeah, I can relate to the clicker issues here. Yeah, moments. That learn better, that work better, and that care about your project, which will make it better. We also would have to get rid of this belief that work has to be hard. It's the same belief in parents that, oh, my children will learn more when they have loads and loads of homework. Turns out in Finland they hardly have any, and they score on top of the European rankings. So it is not true, even if I feel it too when I work my ass off a whole day and I'm exhausted. I think I'm such a good employee. But actually it's not true. We could do the same thing, less stressed, with more fun, and I would be more productive, more innovative, I would be happier, and it's also good for employee well-being and retention. Some examples of this is the incubation effect. So when we are very focused on a task, we're in kind of tunnel vision, we get stuck on a bug, and we just don't get to fix it until we step away from our computer, do something completely different. We've all known this, right? And you come back 15 minutes later, relaxed, and oh, yeah, of course the bug was there. How couldn't I see it? So this is a scientifically proven concept, which is also a reason really to build in breaks at your workplace. There's this example at Climeworks where they wanted to make releases fun and easy in the hope that they would have a higher release frequency. And they did so by having AI make their releases fun and automating a part of them. So we have they got pictures, they got names, Banana Boss and Magenta Mercury, for example. And in 1 year, they managed to double their release frequency in this way, just by making it fun. Now, will people still work if it's all fun, is the question. Well, if their input is in the project, they will probably care more, and I'm pretty sure if they like it, they will indeed still work. And if they work because they want a team to succeed, that's also very helpful. So another thing I can recommend is play half an hour of games per week with your team. If you can have fun together, you'll also hang through these hard release times also together. But if we don't have judgment and we don't have failure and things are actually going astray or people are not behaving as they should, how do we do it? Well, it's just as in a relationship. You talk to each other respectfully without blaming, like you did this wrong. Like try that to your partner, they will probably not like it and get very defensive. You just say like, look, I see this is happening. Let's explore the causes. Let's see how we can do better together. That also works for employees. And that also brings us to a fun work culture. It's great, but it actually requires commitment. It's very easy to lose in some stressy release, and everybody works hard, and the fun is the first thing to go out of the window, and then you're behind for the next one. It's really easy to lose, just as anything else we really cherish in life. Like our intimate relationship with our partner is also one that gets ignored first when life gets hard. Our self-care routine, our workout, they seem unimportant, and at some point, sometimes we lose them, and then the consequences are really not fun. So it's an invitation, if you get a fun work environment, to keep this up. If at your work you don't feel good, and there's no way of turning it around, do build what you love or what you care about, and then you will love what you build. We can always change to a place where we feel better. It's hard now to change, but I'm sure that 2 years down the road, when you're in a better spot, you'll look back and say, it's the best thing that ever happened to me in the end. The other thing, when you build what you love or what you care about, is that you are helping to shape the society you want to see. So another invitation to you all. What I want you to take away is that what helps children learn and thrive also creates an innovative and joyful work culture. So work must be hard and failure is bad. Let's throw those concepts out. Let's replace them with trust, respectful communication, risk-taking and experimentation, no notion of failure, and this feeling that we are in this together. And I promise you, you will have more joy. You guys will be more efficient, there will be more collective knowledge. there will be more innovations, there will be better solutions made, and everybody will be in better mental health, and you will be able to retain employees more. With that, I will add some more bubbles if they won't come. And I like this quote, we don't stop playing because we grow old, but we grow old because we stop playing. Big thanks to Adriana for the bubbles. Also big thanks to Sammy who did the whole styling of the slide. It looks amazing. If you have questions also about how to burp super long, you can find me after all the keynotes in the hallway. Thank you very much.